Any story that you have, like this is the one story I tell everyone.
I would say that the number one story I tell people is like about the abandoned S15 in Okinawa. That thing's crazy. This officer or something that was stationed in Okinawa bought an S15. It was already pretty heavily modified. It had like a Rocket Bunny kit on it. It was beautiful, painted, just had a freshly built engine in there. He dropped it off at the shop to get everything finished on it, right? So he had given them a whole bunch of cash, and then he then got moved off to Korea or something. It turned out this shop in like the last couple of years had like pretty much screwed everyone over on the island and just up and left and ran away. Every single car that was left there had no paperwork in the glove box, but this one did. Long story short, the guy ends up selling me the car for $3,500. So yeah, it was just like, we got it running in Okinawa. I did a huge burnout. Like, it was just so exciting.
Welcome back to the Torque Motorsport Show, bringing you behind the scenes and under the hood of games and motorsports. I'm your host, Billy, COO here at Grease Monkey Games. We got Gav back on the stream.
Yes, welcome me back. I guess if you guys liked the last episode, I'm still around. Hopefully.
Well, the other one hasn't been put out there yet, so
it hasn't been put out yet. All right, then watch the space, guys. But no, we're here to see the one and only Sammit. We'll get Sammit to introduce himself.
Hey guys, my name's Sam. I'm an automotive YouTuber in Japan and competing in Formula Drift J2.
That's a good intro. I was going to ask you because I was going to do a bit of intro of you, but how would you introduce yourself? Because, I mean, these days, automotive YouTuber is, it's more of a common thing. You go back like 10 years ago. You started like 7 years ago. Probably not so much of a thing.
Yeah, approaching my 8th year. I mean, like in Japan, I guess I'd introduce myself. Like when people ask what I do for work, I say I do marketing because there's a little bit of a stigma associated with YouTuber in Japan. But yeah, I don't know, man. I like it. It's hard. I guess content creators probably a little bit more relevant.
Yeah, no, that's. I mean, it's funny because like it's never been more of a thing. And like YouTuber is still like.
Yeah, I mean, I find that even still here in Australia, like I try to pull the content creator card and I still got fined for like leaving outside my COVID zone. But like I try to explain to them that like it's a job and I'm getting paid for it and I need to be off site and not in my own 5-kilometer home. So no, honestly, man, I feel you on that, dude. Like with Japan being quite conservative country, I find it very difficult for you to even say like content creator. I think you'd have to be marketing. I mean, how do you even walk around with the camera? Like, how do you feel when you walk around? Like, what do you walk around with? Yeah, you walking around with an Insta360? You walking around?
No, just this little guy.
Okay.
So yeah, I look like a granddad trying to take photos. You know what I mean? So this is okay. But like, if I'm walking around with this and we've got like the big mic on top, like, yeah, that's a little too much.
Do you have the little camcorder for a bit? On like you got like a side channel, you like have the camcorder attached.
Oh yeah. We do the Twitch streams, and I use the little this little guy here. Yeah, that kind of like sits on my shoulder. Really cool. Yeah, when I do IRL streams, we have that set up.
Hey, you just got 2 days ago the Tokyo Auto Salon. How was it?
Dude, so good. It was probably like, I mean, it was a good time to come because like the last one was still kind of like borders closed, COVID was still kind of like a bit of an issue, but now like borders were all open, so it was the first time people could come, and I still feel like next year's is going to be bigger, but this one was definitely something special.
Was it the Porsche front end FD?
I saw that.
Oh yeah,
that was insane.
That thing had no business looking that good though. Can we talk about that? Like,
it was looking that good.
No business looking that good.
I was like, whose man's is this? Like, someone come collect this guy. Like, I want to understand from the designer's point of view, like, what made you go like, yeah, we're making that, and then go like, wow, this is sick.
Surely they're making it all up in 3D, right? And
surely,
just rendering it out and then mashing stuff together, or they just kind of like seeing what happens.
You would think that, but it's Japan, and they still require you to place orders by fax.
Damn.
So
realistically, it's a clay model then. It's a 1/16 clay model.
I wouldn't be surprised if someone literally just like took 2 pictures of an FD and like a Porsche and then just like cut them up and was like, yeah, maybe, like, Yeah. But I mean, it's associated with Amemiya, right? So He's known for doing crazy stuff like that. Like I came across one of his initial demo cars from a few years back, which had the Lotus front end in it, and that was insanely cool. So he's kind of known for doing that kind of stuff, but that was the first time I saw that one, and I was like, what the hell? That was super cool. It looked so good. Like it flowed so good in person. I don't know if the photos did it justice, but yeah, it was good.
Yeah, I would have loved to see that in person. I was shattered. I was trying to make it work. I was in London last week and I was going to come back on the way, but any like surprises, any like craziness?
The 35.
Yeah, I mean, like, look, I'm a Nissan fan through and through, but there's only so many times you can beat a dead horse. You know what I mean? Like,
yes.
it's getting to the point now where it's like, come on, Nissan, like, let's retire the chassis. But I feel like they don't even know what the future is going to be like right now, and I feel like they're just like, let's just keep kind of doing stuff with this chassis and this platform until we actually know if combustion engines are a thing that we can make into you know what I mean, into the next GTR. Like, but I don't know. There's probably more conversation behind the scenes, but from the outside, that's kind of what it looks like to me. So
yeah, I know a lot of people weren't happy about that, but like, you also need to think too. I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think Nissan said something last year about the T-spec was going to be like the last one. They're not really going to do it anymore. And then they're like, but then they're still doing it. Right. So it's like, there was a point where we, you know, a lot of us there was an argument of gasoline engines versus EV, manual versus auto, and now it's like, hey, look, like, we don't mind the auto, we don't mind the gasoline engine, we just don't want the EV. And like, the fact that it's still, you can buy a new car that's petrol turbo, like, I guess that still speaks for itself, I guess. But too, as an enthusiast, it's like, we just want more than hexagon fog lights, and like some carbon velours on the fender. Like, hexagon fog lights are cool, but like, not 1 year development cool.
Yeah, I agree. To be honest, I was banking that they were going to do a manual version because that just makes sense. Like the final, like, oh, hey, we said we're going to stop, but we're going to bring something out. I was thinking with the development of the new Z and that being a manual, that we were going to potentially see the 35 GTR in a manual option. And to be honest, if they aren't thinking of doing that, like, that just seems so stupid to me. But obviously the drivetrain, I don't know how that would work, but I mean, like, I just feel like that would have been such a good idea for them.
100%, because the new Supra's got to stick too. So, you know, like, even we're talking, I mean, they're not kind of direct competitors of price point, but I guess we're talking about Japanese sports cars that you can buy brand new with a stick. You know, the 35 is not in that territory. The Supra 400, you know, all those guys, like, no dramas, you know. So, man, I hope Nissan provides us a stick 35, dude. That'd be bonkers.
Yeah, that would be so cool, and I feel like that would be the best way to send out that chassis because that's just what everyone would want. But thinking about it from a drivetrain perspective, I don't know how they would do that with their current setup. You know, because they're doing like the transaxle transmission, right? Does that mean they're going to need to do the whole Mustang thing with the torque tunnel and all that kind of stuff? You know?
Yeah, that's a problem in itself too, though.
Yeah, but I mean,
you built a 35? Sorry, Sam.
No, I've never built a 35. I'm familiar with the drivetrain. I've seen a lot of people swap it in Japan into 32s, 33s, and 34s. Yeah. They cut up the whole floor pan and stuff. It's wild.
So electric 35s, is that what we're gonna get?
Oh man, like an EV 35. I mean, who knows? There's an EV G-Wagon coming out. So like, honestly, anything's up in the air, dude. Like, anything.
Do you guys think that EVs are the future, though? Like, do you think that, like, I know this is kind of a bit of a huge topic, but like, I always ask my audience this, like, and I put up polls from time to time, and I'm like, what do you guys think is the future of like cars? And it's like, is it, you know, electric EVs? Is it a fuel replacement or like a synthetic based fuel? Like, hydrogen, or, you know, a combustion engine's completely gone, you know, or will nothing change? And it's always like, combustion engines are staying there and it's just going to be a fuel replacement, or nothing will change is what everyone always selects and votes for. It's really interesting when you ask like the general public and the community what they think is going to happen.
Well, what do you think? We'll throw it back at you. So see what the polls versus what you reckon.
So I think with all the information we've been seeing with EV stuff coming out with, like, you know, how batteries are produced, the chemicals and all that stuff associated with it, if you look at that, and I don't know how true this is, but we've seen a lot of people like talking about how the emissions that are produced to even mine that stuff is like almost on par with the lifespan of a combustion car and things like that, right? But I don't know if that's true. So I'm going to put that into the I need more evidence, and I'm just going to ignore that, right? But if I just look at it from like infrastructure rollout, right? If you think about if all of a sudden, let's say 10% of the community buys EVs tomorrow and plugs it into charge at the same time at nighttime, we can barely on a hot summer's day have enough electricity for everyone in the world, everyone in the country, right? So like if all of a sudden there's that extra strain on the grid, and then take that into account as well of like all the charging stations that have to be rolled out. And this is definitely, I think, an issue more in Australia than Japan, because Japan's so small and long, infrastructure and cabling, wiring, fiber optics for like internet is so much easier to roll out here. But fiber optics in Australia, billions of dollars, because there's so much distance and space there, right? So like in smaller countries, it makes sense. But in big countries, I feel like the cost of infrastructure to roll that out to support it is just insane and astronomical. And then the battery lifespan and like just a lot of these cars, they really haven't been on the road for long enough to know, like, are they going to last as long as a Toyota Corolla used to? Like that kind of thing, like, are they going to be ready available parts at the AutoZone or Super Cheap Auto or Autobahn? You know what I mean? Like, I feel like everyone's like rushing to it too fast. Are we going to end up with more e-waste because of this? That's then going to hurt the environment in the long term. And then like, wouldn't it just be easier if we found a fuel like the combustion engine I feel like has so much more development in it. And if we just all focused on a better fuel replacement, I feel like it would be better. But that's my perspective. But yeah, we'll see.
What do you think, Billy?
I tend to agree, like, especially since cars are moving more into the tech space. It's like cars like Teslas, they're just like, they're vehicles, but heavily driven by technology and built by people in those industries. Like, you could question, like, the right to repair stuff that Apple, like you're talking about. Oh, yeah. Just, like, gone are the days of just wrenching and fixing stuff up. It's like, there's no way you can really do that with, like, a Tesla or
you can't
EVs. It's like, what are you gonna like? What are you gonna do? Like,
you don't know what to do exactly.
I'm not gonna go down to the Repco and I can use Repco because I'm pretty sure that's Australian. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Go down to the Repco and buy like an EV replacement motor for my my wheel. Like,
I don't know.
Interesting. I think it's more gonna be replacement fuels and a large segment. I mean, I think the vast majority of people are just gonna buy EVs because they're convenient. People aren't really traveling that far most of the time in large cities. And then there's going to be a large portion of people who, like motorsport enthusiasts that want to drive the cars, and then, hopefully fuel advances so we're not destroying the planet and we can have fun at the same time. That'd be 100%. Nice.
I mean, there's pros and cons to both, right? I mean, in my mind, I hear the sustainability part, and I too also need more information. It doesn't seem like the rate that they're kind of getting the rocks that they need to kind of make EVs, it's not as sustainable. It's almost as bad as blood diamonds, you know what I mean? It's just as bad. And then on top of that too, you have EV cars, they don't go out of fire for 4.5 hours. So all the fire trucks, they need to update their stuff too. And then like, have you guys seen, like, I saw this photo somewhere, Tesla charging station around Christmas, New Year days?
Oh my God, dude, the lines.
Do you know how many public holidays we have here? Like, we got Australia Open, we got horse racing stuff. We've like the amount of stuff that we have to travel for. Like, there's just no way. Like, if we had EV charging stations banked up like that in Australia, it'd be so entertaining to watch, but also it'd be like an absolute nightmare. Yeah,
your car would go flat before you could, like, in the line before you could get to the
exactly. True. And then it's also like, is it really that much better? Like, you know what I mean? Like, and like you said, is it going to outrun as the I guess in terms of kilometers like a Toyota Corolla would? You know what I mean? Like, and is other car companies going to be kind of like Tesla, where you there's no really private workshops that you can go to get kind of affordable services and whatnot? They're kind of a bit more knit tight with that. You have to come to Tesla and you need to pay whatever we say you need to pay, and that makes it a bit more trickier. But then the other part of me is also like, I've seen countries like, if you own an EV, there's tax deduction. You can drive on the bus lane. You can, like, there's like insanely good perks. So cheap. And it's like, cheap to run and stuff like that. But I don't
Like,
think at the cost of the earth. You know what I mean? Like
no, yeah.
because like we already need all this tech for other stuff. Like we already have shortage of chips, yeah, for petrol
Yeah.
cars. Let's
Yeah.
sort that out first, yeah.
And I can't buy a GPU for my gaming rig, damn it. No, I'm joking.
I mean, feels. I mean that I was the sucker that paid resale for a Gundam 3080 on StockX.
Ooh.
So yeah,
Oof.
I was like, it was desperate times. Yeah. That was
But no,
desperate
I totally hear you. Like, I don't hate the technology. I don't hate EVs. I think it's super cool. I think they're amazing to drive.
100%.
But like, and I know that it's important that we push this technology and get as many people using it so that it further, pushes battery technology and the technology that it is and makes it like, I guess like get better faster
Yeah.
the more people that use it, right? You fix it as it goes along. I'm all for that. But I think it's jumping the gun, telling people, everyone has to be emissions free and EV in the next 10 years or 30 years and stuff like that. I think that's jumping the gun because then it narrows everyone's focus. And like everyone's like, well, what's the point in even further developing this or that if we're all going to be forced to do this anyways in 10, 15 years? No one wants to make something for a temporarily. They want to make it so that it has a legacy and it lasts on forever, right? So I just feel like they've now, like the governments that are forcing all this are like narrowing everyone's like mindsets and inspiration into just that.
Yeah.
We're banking on nuclear fusion, 5 to 10 years. So it's it's always 5 to 10 years.
Yeah.
You see the news article about the advancements in the nuclear fusion. They're like, it's very interesting. Did you see it, Sam?
I've never even heard of it.
Yep.
I'm only hearing about it today.
Okay, well,
give me the
here you go.
rundown.
Live. So they were able to achieve more power out than they put in, but the problem is the power for the laser was substantially more. So it was
much power.
I think it was poorly advertised. Let's just say that.
Yeah.
I mean, they're like nuclear fusion, this big breakthrough, we're super close kind of vibe, but then it's just like not really, but still pretty cool. There we go. It fixed all our problems. Nuclear fusion.
I mean, as fast as they're pumping out EV cars, like, what are we doing with infrastructure? Like, you know what I mean? And like, countries from countries cannot afford the same infrastructure, right? And so what?
100%.
The whole world has to adapt EV. Like, dude, this.
Well, this is the thing, right?
Australia, we're so in debt, bro. Like, especially Melbourne. Bro, debt city over here, dude. Like, I don't know how much more debt we can tack on just to have charging roads or like more places for us to charge EVs,
Yeah, it's definitely it's a really big topic. I feel like we're like going deep into the rabbit hole right now.
Yeah,
but
I
like
thought
you're
you were
not
gonna
wrong.
talk
You're
about
not wrong.
drifting, but EVs, we're gonna get to the bottom of this. Nah,
It's like I love EVs, but they suck at the same time.
You're talking about Australia. You're an Aussie boy, Queensland. When did I think we spoke at Nismo Fest a little bit about this, but you pick up drifting in Queensland and kind of give us a rundown for people who don't know about you. When did you start driving? When did you start drifting? And the Japan story.
So I started getting into cars probably around like the time that I got my license. I had an N13 Nissan Pulsar. And I just started tweaking it. It started off with car audio and then started evolving into, modifying faster turbos and stuff. And I ended up with 3 N13 Pulsars, 2 of them turbo, like CA18 swaps. And like, it was just, they were so much fun. But unfortunately, like every young person in Australia, the bank called me when I turned 18 and offered me a huge personal loan. So I got myself into some pretty crazy debt at a young age. And then, I ended up selling and parting out everything to get myself out of that situation. And then I ended up cruising around in a Mazda Protege for like 3 years while I sorted that all out. And then I got out of that situation and managed to save up a bit of money and bought my first real car, which was an R34 Nissan Skyline GTT. So RB25 Neo Turbo. Love that thing. Had the full Nismo Aero package, had the big shopping trolley wing. It looked sick. And it was white. I was a little bit of a weeb, loved anime, so I called it Shida Yukihime. It's like, Snow White. And like, it was just like,
always a weeb.
It's still always a weeb, man. We're all closet weebs, let's be honest. So yeah, from there, like, I guess I started getting into cars and I just like, I wanted to get into drifting and driving a little bit more, but like I didn't have the time or didn't know who to talk to about it. And then I made some friends at like a local car meet, and they took me into the mountains for the first time. And that was super, super fun. And I started learning like just like driving spiritedly. I remember one night I tried drifting. I spun out and I was like so scared, and like everything was slowed down, right? So I spun out and I could see, and in my head while I'm spinning out, I'm like, I'm about to hit the wall. I'm never, ever doing this ever again. Like, I'm never going to drift again. It's not worth the risk. My beautiful car, you know, that kind of thought, like, all going in my head in slow motion. But I didn't end up hitting the wall or anything, and I got out of that really, really lucky. But after that, I kind of just like chilled for a bit, and I was like, I'm only doing this now if I'm on the track to learn first before I even attempt to do it in the mountains with my friends, right? Because back then, like, it was, especially in Australia, it's still pretty expensive to go to the tracks and stuff like that. I'm not sure what it is now, but you know, back then there was like maybe one event a month, and it was so far away from my house. Like, I think it's a 2-hour drive to QR from where I used to live. So yeah, kind of street stuff was pretty common, but nothing like in suburbia or anything. Like, we would go into the mountains and there was just no one in sight. I think the only person we ever bothered was a wild pig that would occasionally come out and cause trouble. But from there, I did a couple skid pad kind of days and got like a little bit of a hang of it, but still never really was comfortable with it. And then I kind of just like gave up on it because I wasn't really like enjoying it. I didn't really have anyone to like teach me, you know, like no one actually like could sit down with me and run me through everything, because I'm a very, very literal person, and like I really like find it so much better when like someone's sitting with you and like gets you to they do it and then you try to do it and then you just keep switching. Like, that's like the way that I learn really, really well. So from there, yeah, exactly, it does. And then from there, I just kind of like, and then I was still like, I love the car scene and everything like that. And I got into a business with a close friend, and we opened up a little bit of a workshop. He was the mechanic, and I kind of just looked after like the online store side of things, and like helped with like all the marketing and social media kind of stuff. So from there, I ended up going on a trip to Japan just for snowboarding and just exploring Japan and wanting to check it out. And I went to Japan for a 3-week holiday. The first week completely by myself, which was just first time ever in Japan. No idea what to expect. And the moment I got off the plane, I was flooded with like all of these memories about, oh my God, I love this place, and I don't even know why. And I realized it was because the second language they taught us in grade 3 was Japanese in school. And I remember learning about like the culture in Japan and thinking how cool it was. It was one of the only things I got straight A's at school in. All the way through high school was just Japanese class, and I'd completely forgotten about it as I left school and everything like that. And then it all came flooding back. So then I started just keep coming, like weekends. I'd come for weekends, man, to Japan. Like, I'd jump on a flight Friday night. I'd fly out, sleep on the plane, land here at like, I think it was like 4:30 in the morning. I'd smash, like hit the day running, go explore Akihabara, Tokyo and everything. And I was back on the flight home Sunday night, leave the airport and like go back to work. So like,
so cool. What was it, like 5 hours from Queensland?
I think it's like 7.5, like direct flight. Qantas had these really nice direct flights.
That's so cool.
Yeah, so you just sleep.
That's actually pretty sick. Yeah. Relocate to Queensland.
Yeah. So eventually I was just like, this doesn't make any sense anymore, because I was just flying there so much and I loved it so much. And I was just like, it just doesn't make sense anymore. I should just move here. So I started like, you know, talking to the friends I had over here and all that kind of stuff. Worked out a job and worked out a place to stay in a friend's share house and a room there and everything. And then everything just kind of fell into place.
And then you saw all of the Japanese cars over there and you're like,
yeah, pretty much.
Into driving.
Pretty much. Like I sold everything in Australia. I did keep the 34 for a few years just because I was like, oh, it'd be cool to bring it over, or like, you know, like do something with it, or fly backwards and forwards and use it for events. But it just didn't make sense. And it was just sitting in the shed. And I was just like, I'd rather someone else enjoy it, which is another sad story because the person who bought it pulled the engine out and it's been sitting in his garage, like unfinished project for the last like 4 years.
One of those.
No, I know.
We all know that one guy.
Some of us are.
Yeah. Yeah. So anyways, I sold everything I had no car in Japan, and for the first couple of years, I was just like using push bikes, public transport, working every day. I'm previously like IT, so I was actually working in the IT industry over here, but in TV broadcast for one of Japan's biggest sports broadcasters. I worked a bunch on like the F1 stuff. Came up with a thing called F1 Zone, which just lets fans see all the raw data and the different angles and all that kind of stuff. So I was like really enjoying like the broadcast, like IT side of things. But then yeah, during all of that, I was able to actually like get a fair bit of money saved up and everything, and we were able to buy my first car, which was through the auctions. It was actually a white 33 Skyline, the first one, but the papers went missing, and they couldn't send them to us in time. So then the auction house forced me to return the car, and it was like snatching the car out of my hands. Like I had it for 2 weeks. And I'd already like done suspension, brakes, like all these mods to it.
Oh, no.
They call me and they're because like I'm like, and it's weird, the paperwork hasn't come yet. Like this is a bit weird. Anyways, they call me and they're like, oh, we're so sorry, but it seems like the owners lost the paperwork. And there was this weird story they told me about how like the person who sold it, it was actually owned by his parents, and he had run away from home and had a falling out with them, and they were refusing to give him the paperwork or some crap. Like it was just this nightmare story. So we had to give the car back.
Life. Dude.
Yeah.
Picked up some dude's
So-
life crisis car.
Yeah. It was so funny. It was just like this weird Japanese story. And then from there, they asked me what I wanted in compensation for the screw around. And I was like, wait, that's an option? And they're like, yeah, so any money you spent on the car, like anything I spent money on, they paid me for. So they paid me retail price for the coilovers. They paid me retail price for the brakes. And as if like I took it to a shop to get it fixed. And then they also gave me an extra $1,000 on top for the screw around. So I ended up with like making money out of this car. And then we go back to the auctions, and we're looking at the cars that are coming up the next day, and this red 33 Skyline with a 34 Skyline front end pops back up that I first initially looked at, but went unsold reserve for too much money that I couldn't afford. But all of a sudden, I got my money back from the white one and that extra money. It was the exact amount that I needed to buy that one. So it just like worked out. It was this weird like universe thing that happened.
That's so good.
If
I
you
feel
were-
like anywhere else that would not have happened. They'd be like,
Nah, I was literally
Yeah,
going to
for
say
sure.
that.
we're just gonna keep all the shit on the car, and you go, I don't know.
Yeah, that would not happen in Australia, dude. They'd just be like,
Oh, not at
"Seems
all.
like a you problem, dude. That's a you problem." Like, I don't know what else to say to you.
Yeah. So, and then that kind of restarted everything for me. Is that Skyline and a lot of late nights working on the car in the driveway and trying to make events and make things work and going into debt for tires and stuff like that, you know?
Yeah.
Dude, motorsport is not a cheap hobby, man. I say this to a lot
It
of
is
people.
not.
It's not, dude. Like, I've seen so many people get into debt for it, and it kind of like sometimes it ruins their lives. You know what I mean? Like, as much as they love the hobby, it may end up ruining their life. Like, you know what I mean? Like, can't pay rent.
Just 2 more tires.
Just need to shred 2 more tires. You know, like I just want to do
yeah.
3 more laps, trying to make ends meet. But dude, it's so not affordable to be in motorsport, especially now. Like, bro, like, what are parts like in Japan? Like, are they going as crazy as they would be in, I guess, our market or even the American market? Like, you still able to get?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, it's just kind of everywhere.
Yeah. Yeah, it's everywhere, but there are obviously ways around it and stuff like that. But I mean, those are running out too, you know, because most of that just relies on friends and stuff that have crash parts cars and stuff like that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely getting harder and it's scary.
We are getting some, when you're going back before, you're talking about events in Australia, there is some good events popping up here in Melbourne. I think did you go to Keep It Read last year?
Yes.
Down in Melbourne?
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. Yeah, the Keep
like
It Read
things
at Calder Park.
Yeah, so
Yeah. Yeah, I love what Jason's doing with Keep It Read.
yeah, it just brings back like that energy and the passion. I feel like it was missing for quite a while. Just like not many events, not a lot of people attending those events.
Yeah.
And it just feels like this is like new energy, at least here, you know, like Melbourne just don't have the options for tracks. You go out to Calder and, you know, there's a few different areas for layouts, but you got to go to Winton for something different or, you know, elsewhere. It's just far further away.
And then at that point, it's like you got to pay to stay over the weekend because we're driving like 4 hours out of our way. You know what I mean? And then everything, paying for your license, the ticket to enter, like it all kind of adds up, you know what I mean? And then and that's even before you do anything preventative, you know, like preventive maintenance, spare tires, whatever.
Spares,
Yeah, spares and stuff,
Mm.
like even before that. So, but at least we do have the option, though. I think Keeper Reed's doing actually a wonderful job, especially for Melbourne car culture, because like we don't have anything like that. We just have a lot of like, in my eyes, I just see that all we have is like stand shows. All we have is just stand shows. We don't really have track event aside from like time attack. 'Cause we have
Stand
a-
shows is like, yeah, like it's so like you it doesn't cost you money. You know what I mean?
doesn't, no.
Like you build the car, it looks great. You go to
Exactly.
the event and it sits
Yeah.
there. You know,
Yeah, but it gets to a
drifting,
certain
it's like
point.
everything,
Yeah.
like gas, tires, like
Mhm.
engine oil. Every time you go to the track, you're supposed to change engine oil, diff oil, gearbox oil, like
Mhm.
the tires, the wheels.
Yeah.
You're always bumping and smashing stuff. Like you know what I mean? So
Yeah, I
yeah.
find it would be like the most affordable way. It'd be like stand scene, then it goes like maybe time attack, and then like drifting into the like most expensive, into the like for us, I guess, you know, it's just insane. But like we love the sport, dude. It's so good. It's so
Oh, yeah.
addicting. But hey, better to have this addiction than some other addictions. Okay, so it is what it is.
Yeah.
That's why
No,
I save
definitely
myself
true. I
to
think
sleep well at night. Actually.
I'm one of those like freak people, I guess, where like nothing I've experienced in my life comes close to the feeling I get when I'm in the driver's seat and I'm driving, like drifting.
Yeah.
I don't think I like there's anything I could get addicted to that feels like that to me. You know what I mean? So like if I didn't have to upload videos, if I didn't have to do any of the stuff that I do like in day-to-day life, I would prefer to just be in the driver's seat every single day. Like I would literally do that if I could. If there was a way that I didn't have to do any of the other stuff, it would just be that. Like I would just do that. There's just something about being in the driver's seat and that moment of like just getting the car up to like, you know, as fast as you can, pushing yourself to the limit where you feel like you couldn't go any faster because you're like on the borderline of messing up and ending up in a wall, and then flicking it sideways and then going in with as much angle as you can backwards first, and then just pulling that front end in and driving around. Like there's just nothing that feels like that. And what you have to do on the pedals and dance and stuff like that to get the car to do what you want, and the sound, the vibrations, and like the tires as it leaves grip and gains grip, and that feeling you get through, like that vibrates through the seat. Like I'm getting shivers just saying this and like acting it out, because there's nothing that I've experienced that comes even close to how that feels for me.
Really is like a dance, right? I
It
mean,
really
when I'm
is.
drifting, it's not really like a good dance.
Well, from all of that, you got that.
You know, like, you know, it's.
But there's good dancers and bad dancers in
Good
the
dancers
world.
and bad- yeah, exactly.
There's a little bit of everyone.
Yeah. Sam can dance better than me. Probably better than you, Gav.
Definitely. I can. The max amount of talent that I have is a street takeover, and that's about it. Like I can go around a little loop, and then do a figure eight, and then do another loop, and then that's it. That's my max.
That's
You guys get
That's my
takeovers in
best.
Australia?
Nah, this is actually like I think late last year when I joined the company is when I started getting interested. I mean, I've always been interested into drifting, but like you, I didn't have anyone kind of involved in that scene, and I don't want to. Like, I have friends that I go with to do time attack and stuff, and I find it more enjoyable to go with my friends. You know what I mean? Like, I did time attack by myself, and it was so boring. I actually left like at 12 o'clock. I left after session 2 because it was just so boring for me. But like when you have friends and stuff involved, like that's when I go out a lot more and I start doing it. Now that I'm with these guys and, you know, we have company drift cars and stuff, I really want to bring my E46 over so then I could, you know, learn to slide on that guy and then kind of do my own thing and kind of work my way up to kind of build a confidence to kind of do the stuff that you do, but probably not. Like
Gavin FD. or-
Cav FD, dude, no way, dude.
2024.
Nah, but actually, following that question though, like, do you find it more enjoyable to be drifting by yourself or with your friends? Because I know you were saying like there's no you know, kind of emotion that you can kind of replace, or kind of you know, euphoric that can kind of replace you in drifting. But do you think drifting with your friends is like that one step up?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. It just drifting with friends makes it better because like you get to, you know, test each other's skills, battle each other, tap each other's doors, like work on how to get your technique right so you're always transitioning and ending up on their door. Like it's so good. And then when your friend is either like like when you are able to do it, he gets hyped and excited about you being able to do it. And then when your friend does it back to you, you get excited and hyped about each other. And it's just like this constant like encouraging each other and progression. It's really fun.
Yeah, that must be like magical when you're driving someone with somebody that you really know and their style, and just kind of like get into that flow. I've never properly tandem with anyone. I went to go out and tandem with Arran.
Yeah, I remember that.
Founder of. Do you remember that?
Yeah, I
went
was
out.
filming
I was
the
like,
whole thing.
gun
Yeah,
and hoe.
Yeah,
he was out front, and I was trying to catch up to him.
Yeah,
and we had like cut and shot the stock lower control arms with my 86, and just like anyway, the weld snapped, and I just ended up like jaw broke. Anyway, so
he did the walk of shame off the skid pad while Arran was still sliding around.
Yeah. So no,
we've all been there.
Not probably tandem, but keen to actually get into it.
Yeah, for sure. It's so much fun, man. Once you get the hang of it, like, dude, so much goes through your head. Like, so much goes through your head. So half of the time, you don't even know how it works and how you don't hit each other, but it just works.
Yeah, no, it looks amazing, and just like watching you at FD sliding around and tearing up, so awesome. Tell us more about the IT thing. I had no idea. So you're working in IT in Japan when you first moved over there, in like media for F1, or was it like a separate company that did contract work for other stuff? Yeah, it was
a separate company. I don't want to say any company names just because like I ended up actually leaving there due to some issues, but yeah, they're just a sports broadcaster company. They get a bunch of contracts and stuff like that to broadcast the sports within Japan. And yeah, they wanted to broadcast F1, but they wanted to do something called F1 Zone, which is just a multi-view essentially of a whole bunch of different camera angles and all the raw data, the GPS tracker of the track, the lap times, and then like some in-car footage as well as like the pit footage, and then like the main production, right? And you could then have multiple audio channels that you could select to listen to. So I helped develop that, which is really like, it's just a multi-view that gives everyone all the different angles and views of everything that's going on at F1. So the more technical fans will love it. And yeah, it blew up. Like it became one of the most viewed, like people were watching that more than the main production, which was super, super cool. And then like when I left there and started getting to driving and stuff, like I got nothing for that because, you know, when you work under a company, intellectual property isn't your own. I started thinking about like how to do something like that, but with drifting, and I started getting into doing IRL drifting on Twitch, and that's been growing and doing really, really well. And I thought of ways to develop where chat actually, like, so while you're watching, one of the chatters could actually change the camera angle of what they wanted to see. And
you know, like, hey, I love that. That's awesome.
Dude, that's because they can see, because then they feel like they're like your passenger, you know, or they're seeing what you're seeing.
Yes.
Essentially, yeah.
Yes, yeah.
And
so they can switch
freely,
between. Yeah. So 8 different cameras we have set up right now. Foot pedals, exhaust like pedals, so they can see, like they see the rear under the car, and the exhaust exits where the diff is, so they see all the flames shooting out and the smoke and the rubber from the rear tires. There's the front camera, there's like side cameras, and so chat can literally control which camera they want to look at, or they can pick a multi-view of like 4 or 5 or 6. So like, and we've also got car data coming in, so they can see RPM, speed, and all that as well. Nice. And we're going to be doing options for them to select my boost level too, so they'll actually be able to control the ECU.
Like super chat, like send through donation, like trigger the knock.
Yeah, but literally we can do all of that. So I worked with a software developer to develop all the software for it, and we did our first test and just drove around Tokyo in the K-van with the multi-camera setup.
Man, yeah.
And it was so cool, like just seeing chat, like, oh, let's look at the rear. Oh my God, there's a cool car on the right. Let's look at the right. Like, it was just so cool to see that. Yeah.
It'd be cool to like, I mean, you've obviously got a lot of ideas, and it's like changing the music on your radio station and stuff.
Yep.
Like that. Like that's
all of that.
I can see that like in your videos and like all the thumbnails and like the copy and how you like kind of presenting the videos. I can see like you changing out, seeing what works, being creative with it. I think that's like it. Yeah, that's super cool. I had no idea that you're doing all that sort of stuff. Is that like, I wanted to ask how much you focus on, the views and the subs compared to just trying to make, like doing what you're doing like every day?
Mm.
'Cause, you've been doing
I
it for so
definitely
long
like,
and you make a lot of views.
yeah. Definitely like I look at views, I look at trends, I look at, the subs and stuff. Like I definitely have goals for the channel. Like I want to have 1 mil by the end of this year, subscribers.
Oh, easy.
We're already Japan's biggest automotive YouTube channel. When you look at views, we have the most views than any other automotive YouTube channel, collectively, as well as like how frequently we upload. The rate of growth for the channel is number one. So like we're kind of already at that spot, but the subscriber numbers, we want to get up there. So I definitely want to grow that, because companies generally, like, subscribers these days doesn't really mean that much. But it kind of like solidifies you and makes you look more legit the more subscribers you have, even though like if you have 1 million subscribers, you still may have a 20K view video or a 1K video if something goes wrong or if it's terrible, you know what I mean? So I definitely have goals for that, and I do look at it. But the biggest thing that I always tell myself, as well as the thing that I tell everyone else getting into the space, is don't care about what anyone says or thinks. All you need to focus on is make videos that you want to watch, that you want to enjoy. Because then you stay yourself, you'll never burn out, you'll always do it out of love, you'll always do it because that's what you want. And it'll never become like a job. It'll never become something you can't enjoy. Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally. And like, you can tell, right? You're being yourself. You're doing the thing that you love, and like you've been doing it for so long. Like you can't sustain something like that with the amount of videos that you make,
unless you love it. You know what I mean? Yeah, or else you're just going through burnout after burnout, and it's not the vibe.
Yeah, like one thing that like not many people know this. I pay myself minimum wage. I don't have hundreds and thousands and millions of dollars in my bank account. I could have if I kept all the money that we've earned from YouTube, definitely. But I'm building a company. I want to be able to employ my friends and family and give them a job where we can all benefit from this amazing thing that I've been able to stumble upon. I want us to all be able to do the things that we love and give people that same equal opportunity. Like, young people that want to come live in Japan, I can provide them a visa. They get to work on cars and come to drift days and drive with me, and that's still a work day for them. Like that's what I want to do. I don't want to, I'm literally like I pay myself, I think the equivalent of like 2,800 USD a month. Like that's it. Like I do everything out of love, and just enough to be able to do what I love every day, which is just go back into the business and the company and live the dream. Yeah. And I want to provide the same opportunity for others.
No, that's awesome, man.
In saying that too, though, I mean, for your own opportunity, when you moved to Japan, how did you go with your visa situation? Because I mean, that's a problem in itself, right? Like, I mean, how did you even land the job without the visa? Did you get the visa, then you get the job? Like,
I came over on a working holiday visa. For Australian citizens, because the Australian government has that close relationship with Japan, they have what's called a working holiday visa. You can get up to 2 years, 18 months, I think it is. And all you have to do is go to the Japanese embassy in Australia. You just fill out the paperwork, show them that you have like a couple grand in your bank account for a return flight and already have a flight booked to go there. Like just show them, like if you have 5 grand, that's probably all you need. Just show them a bank statement with the paperwork filled out, and then you're good. You can go to Japan on a working holiday visa, and that'll last you for 2 years. Now, that's mainly for you to just be on a holiday and do part-time work, but you can use that to then look for other full-time jobs. And then as long as you have like a degree at university, which I didn't, and I'll get into in a little bit. But as long as you have some kind of degree or working experience for a certain amount of years, you can get a full working visa. So you can go sign up to a job recruiting agency. They will find you a job that suits your needs, put you in a Japanese company or a foreign company over here. There's a lot of companies that speak English here. And then the workplace sorts out your visa for you. You barely have to do anything. Really? They do all the paperwork, sort it all out for you. And you end up with a full working visa.
Let's
like it's like it, yeah. So and like I know so many people that are over here that literally like they're working in IT, but before they actually had no IT experience. Like and like you can get placed in these other jobs and stuff like that if you didn't have experience. But as long as you have that, a general like any kind of degree at university, that really helps. Now in my instance, I was just super, super fortunate. I met my now wife really quickly, like literally the same weekend. Oh, I think I went for like a little bit over like a long weekend. I went to Japan to sort out everything with my friends and living thing, like situation and job. That same weekend, I actually met May, my wife, Mayumi, and through that we had become friends and stuff like that. And I didn't meet her and was like, yo, I'm interested in this girl or anything like that. I met her and she just wanted some advice for like some tech stuff and projects she was working on. And we just became really, really good friends. And then next thing I knew, we were just talking a lot and we spent a lot of time on Skype calls and things like that. And then when I had moved there and everything, things naturally progressed. We started dating, and then we were both the kind of person where by the time, like before the visa even was like an issue or anything, I just decided that I wanted to marry her. So that was that. Now we've been married for 7 years because this is my 8th year in Japan. Yeah. So yeah, that was my way. Like that was just the easiest way in. So like from that perspective, like everyone always jokes about, got to go to Japan, get a Japanese wife, which is definitely the meme, right? That's the meme, right? Japanese waifu. But dude, like when I said to you at the start of the start was like everything just kind of the doors all open for me. It was literally like one of those weird, like, you know, universe just wanted me to kind of like be there, and everything just happened. It was so crazy.
And you got a little one on the way now. Is he
Yeah.
excited, nervous?
Oh, you got a kid on the way?
Yeah, he's coming out probably at the end. Like I would say he's coming out early because she just went in for a checkup, and the doctor's like, since we last saw you, he's grown like in size a week ahead of schedule in such a short period of time.
Oh no.
So they were like, your husband's a foreigner, right? Can you maybe contact his mum and find out how big he was? Because we're getting concerned. Like,
So you know he's gonna be fast on the track.
Yeah.
Fast grower.
oh yeah, he's got huge feet. Like on the scans, like that they do, like there's huge feet in there, and I'm like, oh god.
What are your plans for your kid? Are you gonna put him in motorsport? You gonna put him through karting? You gonna do all that, or you just gonna let him kind of find his own passion?
Obviously, I would love for my son to get into motorsport and drifting and stuff like that. But I want him to choose what he wants to do. If he wants to do motorsport, then I'll do everything I can to empower him to do that. But obviously, if he wants to do anything else, I'll do the same support.
Are you nervous for like getting into? Is this? I mean, I'm just gonna assume this is your first kid, so you're about to go into parenthood. How do you feel like mentally prepping yourself going into that? Like,
I think it doesn't feel real, and I don't think it will until the baby's out. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. I've spoken to a few friends because I was like talking to guys, and I was like, you know, like when you had your first kid, like, did it feel real? Like up until, and he's like, oh man, you just can't be prepared for it because like nothing feels real or like it's happening until like the baby's actually out, and then you're like, whoa. So I'm kind of in the same boat right now, but I'm ready. Like I'm trying to like, you know, stay in the right mindset for that. I already got him like one of those little kids rider things that they sit on and push with their thing. I just modified the steering rack so it gets more angle for it. So.
He's throwing like -5 camber on this kid's toy car.
That's gonna be like the funnest thing, just for like decking out all the toys, so like stands out.
Yeah,
that's so fun.
Yeah, I'm sure he'll get into cars. I mean, he's got a pretty good opportunity too, so should be all right.
Yeah, is it going to affect the video cadence? That's what everyone wants to know.
Yeah. Is because you have a kid, is the videos going to be, what, is it going to go from like once a week to every 2 weeks now? What are the expectations for when you do have?
I will still have every other day uploads. Every second day there'll be a video.
Got it.
Yeah, we'll be on top of it.
Commitment.
That's real commitment.
That's why. Yeah, that's why I set up the company. We got employees, all that kind of stuff. So. You know, we'll be at the point where we'll be able to consistently do that. I mean, I'm sure like there might be like a week off or something when the kid actually comes like out and stuff, just while we kind of like, you know, acclimatize to that new environment. But yeah, I'm quite confident we'll be able to average a video every other day.
Have you ever like made a video and you're like, this is going to pop off, is going to blow up, and then it just like didn't?
Yeah, all the time. The videos. So we always joke about this whenever like at dinner with like YouTube friends and stuff like that. We always just like, it's always the videos that you never expect to blow up that blow up. And then there's the videos that you kind of like, yeah, this might do well. And then you're like, and you don't think too much about it. And then it does, like it explodes and becomes the biggest video on your channel. And then there's the videos that you put in all this effort to, and then they just flop, total floppers. Yeah. Like it happens time and time again. But failure, every video that you fail on just means you're closer to figuring out the algorithm. So it's all good.
100%. So then, in saying that too, then is there any videos that you put the minimal effort for maximum satisfaction? Like you did no effort, you put it out, and you're like, whatever I get goes. And then you wake up in the morning, you're like, how is this my best video?
Yeah, definitely. Like the Skylines as far as the eye can see video, right? That was probably the one of the biggest the biggest videos to date, like 1 million views overnight. It was insane. Never experienced it. I woke up the next day and I was like, my time's come. It's my moment. Like,
he's like the chosen one.
It was like, I'm going to the shop and buying some Gucci shoes. Like, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, the Skylines as far as the eye can see, like I had a hunch it was going to be a good video, but I just had no idea how to film it or do anything. And I was like, I'm just going to wing it. I'm just going to go there. Like I had literally just like called them up, emailed them, because I remember I got lost going to a scuba circuit on my second ever drift day in Japan, and Google Maps took me down this farm dirt road down the back of the track, and all I could remember was just this field full of 34 Skylines, and I was like, "What the?" Like, just was like, "What is that?" But I'm gonna be late, and Okachan's gonna yell at me, so I need to figure out how to get to the track. So I put a Google pin there and turned around and like went to the track, right? And I'd forgotten about it for 2.5 years. And then I was running out of content ideas. I just started doing full-time YouTube and stuff like that. And I was like, I need to plan out what kind of videos I want to do. And I'm like, oh my God, I should go back to that place. And I went there I don't think I had any kind of No, I emailed them. We reached out, called and emailed them and organized for me to go there and visit them. And they already knew who I was. And I went there with just one of these cameras like this. And I just filmed my reaction of me just freaking out and just walking around looking at all these cars. And it just blew up. Like then the next video, they're like, oh, we have secret warehouses full of cars like under plastic and stuff. We'll show you that and come next week. Go back next week, upload that video. Overnight, another 1 million views. Like it was just like, and then the third video, they wanted to show us all the parts, right? And then we showed all the parts, and that video I think only got a couple 100K. But like for then and back then, my channel and stuff, like that was huge, and it definitely really helped with the growth of my channel. But like from there, like I just kind of got into this trend of like, okay, people like to see this kind of stuff. So I started like, researching and trying to find other places that were similar, where like they had storage yards and things where like it was like like abandoned projects and stuff like that. And like I'm super interested in finding that stuff and looking at it. And I realized that other people would be too. So that's when I started like filming and doing that in the middle of like my builds and drifting and everything like that. And it just kind of kept revolving around that, and it did really, really well.
I'm just imagining that field of cars just like a tourist attraction now. It's been
it literally is. They have so many problems of foreigners coming.
Yeah, I swear I saw like a few, I guess, American YouTubers that went to that exact same site like in the last year, something like that, and they also filmed like a similar thing too. So it's surely probably like everyone probably knows about it now.
Yeah.
But lucky you, Sam, you got in early.
Well, what was funny was they were super like standoffish about it at first. And I was like, oh no, it'll probably do really well for your business and stuff. And they didn't really take me seriously. Well, after the first video, they had to employ 50 new staff to deal with the new demand.
Wow.
No one knew about them until that video. And like, I didn't intend for it to go that well. Like I thought it was going to just get like maybe 100K views. I was going to be happy with that. But I think now that video is at like 4-point-something mil. So like, it's just wild. Like YouTube. And that's when I also learned about business as well. Like, how like, hang on a minute, like if I'm like making videos like promoting all these companies and stuff like that, like especially when I now have a brand and things like that, you got to start like thinking about it from a business perspective, and you can't like do all that kind of stuff for free. And then you learn about how like the YouTube game works and all that kind of stuff,
100%. So some questions about cars. What's your story that involves cars? Like any story that you have that you go like, this is the one story I tell everyone in regards to anything to do with cars.
Oh, man. I think like probably the story kind of gets replaced after a while, right? Because like these crazy things just keep happening. But I would say that the number one story I tell people is like about the abandoned S15 in Okinawa. That thing's crazy. Like the story behind it, I'll give you like a shortened down version, but there's a lot of US Army bases and military bases here in Japan. And when guys get stationed here for a couple of years, they buy like their cool, favorite Japanese sports car that they can't get in the States, because the whole Fast and Furious thing, like Skyline, Sylvias and that thing. This officer or something that was stationed in Okinawa bought an S15. It was already pretty heavily modified. It had like a Rocket Bunny kit on it. It was beautiful, painted, just had a freshly built engine in there from some other base guys that had done it in their dorm and everything. And he dropped it off at the shop to get everything finished on it, right? And their shop was like, yeah, no problem. And he also paid them to export the car to the States for them and put it in storage and everything, right? So he had given them a whole bunch of cash, and then he got moved off to Korea or something to do something over there at the base there. And from his perspective, he thought that this shop had already got their car, like, somewhere in storage in the USA waiting for everything to be legal, which we know that's not really allowed to be done and all that kind of stuff. So he just, paid the money, didn't think anything of it. Turned out this shop in like the last couple of years had like pretty much screwed everyone over on the island and just up and left and ran away. The owner ran away. Like the property was listed for sale and all this stuff. Like, and these cars were just left there to rot. Every single car that was left there had no paperwork in the glove box, but this one did, and the passenger door was open. So the paperwork was in there. Someone who was local there and living on base got in contact with the person who owned the car, and that was like the first he knew about the whole situation and everything. Like, and he just didn't know his car was there.
That phone call.
So like, it was terrible. Yeah, it was. I mean, it sucks for him, but obviously, when everything came to light and whatnot, he was like, okay, it is what it is. It's out of his control. But the car, this guy slid in my DMs who used to be like a small content creator in Okinawa. He's pretty medium sized now. He's doing well. And his name's Jason Cap26. He reached out to me and was like, yo, I know you love like Sylvias and stuff. And he's like, you interested in this? And he sends me all these photos, and I was just sliding through my DMs while I'm sitting on the toilet like you usually do. And then it was like, dude, like all these photos of this car. And I was just like, this looks insane. There's like grass growing over it, had like Works, like Meister 3-piece wheels on there. And I'm like, what's this thing like sitting out there? It had a top mount Garrett turbo on it. And like, and there was just like, it looked like it had a fair bit of rust, but like, I'm like, what's the story here? And dive into it. Long story short, the guy ends up selling me the car for $3,500. I fly down to Okinawa, sight unseen, already bought the car, paid for it, get the paperwork. We go look at the car, and the thing like was not supposed to be running. We heard stories that the engine was locked up. It turned out the shop owner had also taken the car without the owner's permission to one of his events and used it as a display car, let Albo Moon drift it. And then the because he still hadn't checked over the car like he was paid to do, the bolts on the cam pulleys came off and they weren't tight. So the valves like smacked on the pistons and all this stuff. So we had all these videos and people telling us what was going on with the car and how the engine was broken. We pulled the car out of there, get it to my friend's little shop, and the freaking starts. Like almost first go. Like just hook up a battery and it literally first starts right away. And I'm like, there's no way. And like we ended up finding like a head in. Yeah, like it was ridiculous, right? And it was supposed to not be a running engine. It was supposed to be blown up, and like there is some rust on it, but we're dealing with it, and it's going to be a great practice car. I did have to rebuild the engine. One of the military boys put number one piston in back to front, so it knocked off the oil squirter. And then the shop had just swapped the heads with a factory one. So the pistons actually had a bunch of damage in them from the valves on the old head. So yeah, it was just like we got it running in Okinawa. I did a huge burnout. Like it was just so exciting. It was just like the craziest thing. Like you just don't hear of barn finds like that. Like everything about it was just like, what the hell? Like the wheels are worth more than the whole value of what I got the car for.
I was about to say, like Meisters are still more than 3.5. What are they, like 18s, 17s, 19s?
No. These are 18s and 11.5 J wide. Like they were for Rocket Bunny Aero.
Yeah.
They're huge, big boy wheels.
Big baller budget wheels, man.
Yeah.
That's sick.
Yeah, it was on air suspension too. It was just
Damn, this thing was full send. Let me get spin it.
Yeah, it was.
Stretch tires type vibe, you know, or.
Yep.
Yeah.
It had 595s on there, and it was, oh, dude, it was.
Who remembers the
It's
federal
just
595s? Those are good days.
They were good days.
They were good days.
But yeah, that's probably my number one story.
You're the next one, Gav. This is
Then moving on. So now that we've got that out the way, your first car, your favorite car, and your forever car that you just won't let go.
I don't have my forever car yet.
Okay, fair enough. What's your first and favorite?
My first car was an N13 Nissan Pulsar.
Yep.
Love that thing.
Was it SR?
My favorite car. No, it was a CA18 swapped.
Okay.
CA18 best motor. Still better than SR, kind of, maybe. Don't. Yeah.
I think it sounds better.
Yeah.
It sounds better. Definitely sounds better, but SR kills it with torque every day. My favorite car. See, this is a hard one. I don't like it.
Yeah, it could just be anything.
Yeah, and like every car has a different purpose. But I would say what I'm enjoying right now the most, because it challenges me the most, is my FD car right now.
Oh, really?
It challenges me so much because it is such a hard car to drive. And every time I get in there, I feel like, and every time I get seat time in that car right now, I get out of it a different driver.
Wow.
So I'm loving how much progression I'm getting in that car.
Yeah.
Learning like how different it feels, how to control it, what to do, that kind of thing.
How much seat time do you get for your pro car? Like, do you get the opportunity to have a decent amount of seat time before you run an event? Like, or no, you just get like, you know, your practice car? No?
Yeah. So last year, everything was rushed with that car. I actually bought that car. That used to be an old pro car in Australia. And I bought it in Australia, got it shipped over here. And then we had to make a bunch of changes to update it and get it like up to spec. And then pretty much we finished it at the track, the first event that I was able to compete in, which I think was round 3, maybe, of FDJ2 at EBC Circuit. Did terribly, had no idea what I was dealing with the car, and just was so out of my comfort zone. Like, it was insane. We got, I think I didn't even qualify, and I got like 00, which sucks. And then the round after that, started to get the kind of hang of the car at Sugo, and we got 4th place. And I was pretty much on the way to the podium, but a wastegate got stuck open. And then ever since then, we've just had like all these little weird issues that are super annoying and small, but like have a massive effect on your driving. Yeah. So we had engine mounts blowing out, and that would move the transmission and make it pop out of gear because it would hit the side of the tunnel and knock the shifter straight in the center. Like, just all these weird little issues. And that. Yeah,
I saw that battle, the battle for 4th. You look like you had like full control over that car, like real comfortable.
The battle for 4th? Oh, so the battle that got me to 4th. Yeah. That one was great. Yeah, that was great. The one after that, where I went from 850 horsepower to 250, no. I'm like clutch kicking the hell out of that thing, just trying to get it to work. Oh man!
Dang. Any
I thought I put it into like 5th gear or something. I was like, something's wrong. Like, I have no power. Like, am I in 6th gear or something weird? I'm like checking, looking down. It was terrible. Anyway,
imagine though if everything in car world just worked all the time. Like, that would.
Oh yeah. That would be nice.
That would be nice.
It's a dreamland.
But taking a step back, did you just say you imported a car to Japan from Australia?
Oh, and this car was initially imported to Australia too.
Oh my god! Like that,
it's come full circle.
I was like, wait, this doesn't make any sense. Like, isn't it usually the other way around? Like, you know, we take your cars and, you know, not vice versa. Damn,
yeah, well, this was a comp build car, so like it made more sense for me to buy something that was already like FD legal and built, 100%. And it already had a really good drivetrain in there. Because like if you build a car from scratch, you're minimum 200k deep because of like all the fab work, or everything that's involved into it. So being able to buy this car like was just a huge like game changer, and it made things. It meant that I could drive last season. Now. Wasn't the best season, but I now know what I'm getting into for this season. So that's the best thing. And I have seat time in it, and I know what I'm dealing with.
Yeah, because it's usually a lot cheaper just to kind of buy someone's already, I guess, finished project, or I guess they're halfway done. Like, it'd just be cheaper to buy a shell where someone's already done the cage, they've taken everything out, and you've just like, hey, I got a CAMS license cage on this car, and you're wanting the car for like $3,000, like no dramas, you know.
Exactly, yeah.
Way cheaper, because like I don't think you can get I think my half cage for my street car costed me like $3.5K, and that's like
Yeah.
that's just a half cage. You know what I mean? So like I'm assuming
Yeah.
what's the cage requirement for FD? Just a full cage.
Yeah, there's a few like specific requirements according to the FD rulebook, but like it's got to be like a full, I think minimum 6-point cage, but then you also need like foot intrusion bars and a few things like that. But yeah, like you got to have the harness bars and stuff like that. There's a few like key things, and you can't have anything like no tube chassis stuff where it comes from the front of the car to the firewall. You can't have anything like any bars going into the firewall because if in an accident that could push through. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Like it's just got to be a full weld-in proper cage.
Yeah, that's fair enough.
Is there anything, any big changes for this year? I guess FD this year to the car.
Yeah, we're going to be changing to a rear mount radiator setup. We're going to be also changing a fair bit of suspension stuff in the rear. And then I'm also looking at engine package stuff. Just because I find that the current setup we have on there right now is a little laggy, and I'd like something a little bit more responsive and easier to kind of like get up there. So I'm thinking about either we use the same setup we have now, but adding a little nitrous, like 50 horsepower, kind of like wet nitrous, like spool aid, or we just jump to a 3.4 liter. So there's a few options, but with the current car, the way the engine is now, I could probably go through the season fine, but we're just talking to sponsors right now and trying to figure out the game plan with the engine package. But I also want a sequential this year. That's something that I definitely want to try and get.
Full kit.
I mean,
yeah.
I guess going into the next question, so where can our listeners find you? Like, we obviously know you guys got a YouTube channel. Where else? What other platforms you talk about? We know that you do Twitch, Instagram, all the comments.
Twitch looks great, especially
Twitch
with the cameras.
Yeah.
Like, God damn, I'm jumping on there next one.
Yeah.
Oh, dude, I'm so... The Twitch stuff, this Twitch stuff I'm really excited about because we have now like a lot of motorsport live streaming companies interested in the platform. So we're gonna potentially license that to them. But could you imagine like watching some of your favorite motorsports and being able to like pick a driver and then alternate between cameras?
100%. It makes
that'd be sick, right?
Yeah, like not even that. It just makes the user experience so much better. Like someone like me, ADHD, man, like my attention span is next to minimal. Like if I could watch a stream and move things around, dude. Crazy.
And then you get to fight with other people in chat, like other people too. So like it's just like, and it's a monetized thing too. So like think about it from the driver's perspective. They're able to also earn money from you guys fighting it out, trying to get, you know, like so it's it's really
everyone wins. I feel like you get to do what you love to do. You know, you don't feel burnt out. You just get to drive and enjoy.
I'm just imagining you, Gavin, on Sammit's stream, like dropping a K on just changing our cameras.
Just me donating $1 every time just so I can change the cam.
Like, footwell.
Oh, that'd be so funny.
Face cam.
But yeah, you guys can find me on YouTube, the YouTube channel Sammit. You can also find me on Twitch. Twitch is Sammit as well. And then just all the other socials. Like I'm pretty active on Twitter. I'm pretty active on Instagram. I do have a Facebook page too, which is like all the content from YouTube gets recycled in small form to there and dumped on there by a company that manages it for me. But otherwise, that's it. Like I think I am on TikTok, but I mean, does anyone take TikTok seriously?
No.
Yeah, cool. But that's where you can find me.
We'll leave it there, Sammit. Thanks, heaps. Really appreciate you jumping on. You know, we're a big fan of what you're doing on the channel.
100%.
And such a great guy. You know, hang out at Nismo Festival of Speed. We got to meet for the first time. And you met with some of the other team as well, which is really cool. And just stoked to see you do what you do. And you know, I'm sure we'll do some stuff.
Yeah, we're excited to see what you come up with this year. I'm actually more excited to see this $3,500, you know, barn find come into life. You know, like that's what I'm most excited about, and the Twitch stream, obviously.
Oh yeah.
Can't forget that.
Believe it true for yourself. You know,
I think I'm just as excited as you guys.
Yeah. Like the dedication for this guy to go away is like, yo, this is so sick. I'm gonna get a software guy to help me on this. Like, bro, what? Like, dude, different levels. But dude, thank you so much for your time. We really appreciate it. And we'll get Billy to close off.
Yeah, no, that's it. See you all to the next one.
Have a good one, guys. Peace out. Have a good one.